Random note, completely separate from the video. I bought these LED party bulbs to kind of boost the production value of this room, because there really isn't much production value in this room. I wanted some colored gelled bulbs, so like red bulbs and blue bulbs. These things suck, and they give off absolutely no color, and it's freaking annoying. On to the video. Welcome back. So me and my buddy Mitch recently went to 2nd and Charles on a mission to find some comic books, which, if you don't know, is kind of like a secondhand bookstore with a lot of geek culture stuff. So we recently went on a comic book mission, and I stumbled upon a comic book that is pretty interesting.
Y'all know I got those big goals, but I never tell you why. Like keep on making bangers without losing what's inside. Another day that I wonder, I guess that's thinking twice. Pushing through the thunder, hoping life don't pass me by. Why is it taking so long? Why do I even go on? Maybe cause my dough wrong and the other option just broke off. Phone calls for that bag, y'all know I picked that up. Another day to get money straight, I'm down but I get back up. Supporting my team, take care of my fam, and then only then I can stare at the lamb. Go ham, December through Jan, better intent than most with a plan. Never gonna lie to myself, there's people I'm trying to help. I'm tired of driving through hell, but now I'm reminding myself.
That's right, baby! I got West Coast Avengers number 46. And a lot of people are thinking, okay, what are the West Coast Avengers? Well, the West Coast Avengers are a team of Avengers started by Hawkeye, who were basically on the West Coast. That's pretty much it. The Avengers dominated most of the East Coast, so Hawkeye was like, you know what, I'm going to expand the Avengers brand. I'm going to expand their influence. So he went to Los Angeles and started the West Coast Avengers. But anyway, why is West Coast Avengers number 46 so important? Let me tell you. Because West Coast Avengers number 46 is the first appearance of the greatest Avengers team ever. The frickin' Great Lakes Avengers. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've never heard of the Great Lakes Avengers. Yeah, well, neither has pretty much anyone else. The Great Lakes Avengers are a team created by John Byrne, who are basically just one giant joke. Everything about them is a joke, from their name to the locations. It seems to be a running gag that they can never actually figure out their own name, because they were Great Lakes Avengers, and then one issue they coincidentally found out that they were all mutants. So they're like, all right, Great Lakes X-Men. But then in a poker game, Flatman beat another member of the team and then said, why don't we rename ourselves Great Lakes Champions? So then they were Great Lakes Champions. Then they're like, you know what, let's go back to Great Lakes Avengers. Everything about this team is one giant joke, and I love it. I believe Hawkeye asked them, he's like, why Great Lakes Avengers? And he's like, well, you got the East Coast Avengers, which is just the Avengers, and then you got the West Coast Avengers. There's no North Coast, so Great Lakes Avengers. I guess it kind of shows just how, I'll say, humble the Midwest is, because no one, I guess, this is what John Byrne or whoever thought about the Midwest. They're like, these are the superheroes the Midwest deserve. This team is so good. Oh my gosh. The Great Lakes Avengers first consisted of 5 superheroes. Okay, they were led by Mr. Immortal. What's Mr. Immortal's power? Well, it's in his name. He's immortal. So basically, when he dies, he comes back to life. That's pretty much it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Being immortal, that's so cool. I would love to heal from any injury. Except here's the thing. He doesn't heal from any injury. Like, if he's hurt in just a normal, non-fatal way, he heals the same way as anyone else. Pretty much, the writers just evolve him into this joke where he just dies pretty much all the time in newer and weirder ways. Even in this issue, he's fighting Hawkeye and Mockingbird, thinking that they're like clones or like villains of some type. I can't remember. And then he's like, oh, you think you've won this battle, but you haven't. And then he just commits suicide by falling off a building. Hawkeye and Mockingbird are just like, did that dude just commit suicide? He literally just jumped off a building. It's so great. His power is that he can kill himself and then come back to life in like a few hours. When is that ever useful? That's so great. You will realize that most of these powers are pretty dumb. And then next on the lineup, you have Flatman. Again, pretty self-explanatory. His power is that he's flat and that he can stretch and shapeshift, sort of like Mr. Fantastic, but a lot less cool, which I think that's what they were going for, considering he has a very similar color scheme to Mr. Fantastic, except he's flat. Why is he flat? It's so weird. And then you have Doorman, who's basically, I guess Doorman would be considered the coolest member of the group. He can harness something called Dark Force, which is like this negative force in the Marvel Universe that can be used as energy projection and projectiles, and it encompasses his whole body. And he can use his body as a portal. That sounds cool on paper, except you realize that his power is literally that his body is a portal, so he can put his back up against a door and then people can travel through him. And then that's his power. He's Doorman. He's literally just a door. So if there's like a bank vault, he can like put his back up against it and then people can walk through him into the bank vault. Okay, that can be useful, and it kind of is, except he can't travel through the bank vault himself. The first appearance of Doorman is when the rest of the Great Lakes Avengers are fighting this bank robbery, this bank heist that's going on, so they thwart this robbery, and then Doorman just opens the door and he's like, "We good?" Which I guess if he opened the door, why couldn't he just, whatever, I don't even care. And then of course we have a human pterodactyl called Dinosaur. Get it? Who's a pterodactyl, so technically she's not even a dinosaur, but whatever. But then you have the creme de la creme of superheroes. Pied de resistance, mise-en-scène, cream of the crop, top shelf, best member of this team. And that is Big Bertha, whose superpower is that she is morbidly obese, and that she can control the fat content of her body to become impenetrable and super strong and invulnerable, and she can leap at great heights just like the Hulk, except instead of the Hulk who's really muscular, she's really fat. She's kind of like the Blob, except unlike the Blob, she can turn into her alter ego. So I guess she is like the Hulk in that sense too, where she can turn back into her quote-unquote human form. So her alter ego is a very famous and attractive supermodel. So she's a very attractive supermodel whose superpower is she can turn into a morbidly obese person, basically. Oh my gosh, dude, I love this team. So you may have heard of Big Bertha before. You might have if you're into the comic world, you're like, where have I heard Big Bertha before? Well, Big Bertha kind of makes the rounds as being one of the most controversial superheroes in comics, because this was made in the 80s, and at that time you can get away with a lot more offensive jokes. She appears on a lot of most controversial comic book character lists because, yeah, she can turn from Big Bertha back into her supermodel persona, but the way she does it is she has to purge the fat from her system by throwing it up. A lot of people might consider that offensive. Another way you might have known about the Great Lakes Avengers is that there's a character called Squirrel Girl who has the power to communicate and talk to squirrels, who has squirrel-like appendages and squirrel-like abilities, like agile and stuff and putting nuts in her mouth. I don't know. I'm just joking. Gosh. She sort of has a cult status because there's a running joke with Squirrel Girl that she's unbeatable. She's beaten some of the most formidable foes in the Marvel Universe, like Doctor Doom and Thanos. They call her the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. This character was also created as sort of like a joke, and anyway, she became a later member of the Great Lakes Avengers, but then she left the team because they thought they were relying too much on her, and that they wouldn't achieve their full potential if they kept relying too much on her. So when Squirrel Girl is your MVP, so I'm sort of getting into these novelty comics a lot, like these comics that are very weird. I actually went to a bookstore recently and I got an old Boris Karloff Tales of Mystery comic, and I think I might try and pick up some more weirder comics and maybe make like a weird comic series on this channel. Boom, Great Lakes Avengers. First appearance, West Coast Avengers number 46. If you find this, I urge you to pick it up because it is hilarious and I love it. There's something very humble about this team, and being that I'm from a Great Lakes state, it's just fantastic. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. I really don't know what to say now. I'm pretty sure this video's done. Oh, follow me on Twitter. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. You can @ me. I have about 8 followers right now, so...
Pretty big fucking deal.
Clever catchphrase. See you guys later. Bye.